What's up everyone, welcome to the channel. So I told you guys last video that I was gonna show you guys how to line, and so that's exactly what we're gonna work on today. The E46 needs spacers in the front. I have, I think, 10mm spacers that I'm gonna throw on the front because the inside of the wheel does still hit the chassis. We are going to try to fix that as much as possible today. So if you guys didn't watch the last video, I said that I took a course to learn how to align a car, more or less. You gotta do the whole course. After you go through the course, you can request a certificate of basically certified aligner, I guess you can say. And so I've been going through this course. It's not that long, maybe like 2 hours total, maybe 3. I got through read about all the alignment, and they start talking more and getting more in depth in suspension. I'm not gonna go too much into detail on how to do this because it's just a lot. Like I said, if you guys really want to get into it and learn how to do it, I would recommend the course. They're gonna explain it probably a lot better than what I'm going to be able to explain it anyways. It's not that expensive. It's like 150 bucks, and if you wait for a deal, they usually have like 50% off. I got it with 55% off during like the Black Friday days. But today, one thing, like I said, we gotta work on is this wheel, because, well, actually they both rub inside. The reason that I've been taking so long to do this is because, for one, the studs that go on the car are actually really long, so I'm gonna have to cut them and make sure that they fit and nothing breaks. Because on the E90 I had that happen where the studs were just too long and I messed up the whole brakes. Once we have the spacers installed, I'm going to start setting up my alignment stuff, and we are going to align. The rear has quite a bit of camber. I can take off quite a bit of camber from the rear, and that's really gonna help. I've already checked the car and the car's not too bad, but we are definitely going to fix the imperfections that it does have in the alignment. Like I said, the rear, I'm going to try to take off all the camber in the rear, but the front, I've already maxed out my camber plates and I can't take off any more camber from the front. So some of these studs I will have to cut, because if you can see right there, this one's really long. So there's the length of a stock one. There's some of these, for some reason we have these really long ones, and then we have these, which I think this size will work perfect. We might have to trim a couple of threads down. I really don't think the stock ones will reach. I don't know, we'll figure out how to put this on. But really quick, I'm gonna jack up the car and I'm gonna throw the spacers on, throw the wheel back on, and we're going to start measuring and see how exactly we're gonna have to do this. So this stud is still too long. Even though it's shorter than this one, it is still too long. So I'm going to cut it down maybe 3 threads roughly and throw it back on and see if it still rubs, because it rubs on the inner like metal from the wheel brake, the dust cover I think it'd be called, but it's rubbing on something. So I'm going to cut this shorter one a couple threads, and then I'm going to slap it back on, and if that fixes it, I'll just cut all these long ones to that size. So I got to work, cut all the studs. I think I cut them at the right length. Nothing's rubbing, so I'm kind of really happy. I did cut the studs a little bit too long, but I think it'd be fine, because if I do want to throw another spacer on there later, I'll be able to and not have to order studs. Our front tire is sticking out quite a bit. Like that's quite a bit. We're definitely gonna have to do something with these fenders. We're gonna have to cut them or something, but we're definitely gonna be rubbing on a lot now. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the other side, and then once we're done, I'll probably lift it up from the front and check our clearance, or I'll just leave it on the ground, because that's actually going to be our clearance for our actual driving clearance. I'll leave it on the ground, I'll pull it out into the street, turn the wheel, see if we rub on anything, but I don't think we should be rubbing anymore. All right, so now both spacers are on the car. Let's move the car back into the gravel so we don't mess up the tarp. Okay, so we're at full lock. We're getting really close to that fender though. No, we're definitely not rubbing back here. And we have a gap there. So it seems like that spacer helped, which is great. We're not rubbing on front or back. So I guess we now have full lock then, I guess. Angle is not that bad. It's a lot more than stock, so we're definitely gonna be able to get away with anything. I think anything that we run into, honestly. Pretty freaking good though, not gonna lie. We do need to still adjust the caster. I'll do that another day. For right now, this is all I can do. Next thing we're gonna move on to is the alignment. I definitely am going to take off some camber off of the rear. I don't have a camber gauge, and so I'm going to try to use my phone. I'm going to see how accurate we can get with my phone. I'm going to try to stay within 1 degree of camber in the rear, because I'm not trying to run too much camber in the rear, because the tire is going to wear out unevenly, badly. I want the tires to wear out evenly. With this much camber, we're definitely not going through the tire evenly. All right, so it looks like we're running about 2 degrees in the rear. Yeah, it looks like we're running roughly 2 degrees of camber in the rear. So like I said, I'm trying to run 1 maybe, or half. So I definitely got quite a bit of camber to take off. It's not a lot that I have to adjust, but it's definitely quite a bit of camber I got to take off. It's gonna be tricky because I don't really want to overdo one side and not be able to get the other side, because I'm not like, it's not like 100% precise. Obviously a camber gauge would be ideal. If you guys want to use the app, literally just look up any angle app on Google Play or on the Apple Market. Like I said, they're not gonna be 100% accurate. You gotta find a way to set your phone to be flush with the wheel so you can get a proper measurement of the angle. But hey, I guess it's better than nothing, right? So really quick, I'm gonna knock the camber out. It's literally just the bottom arm. And once I adjust the camber from the control arm, we should be able to adjust our toe. All right, so we gotta remember, every time we set the car down, you need to roll it back and forth a little bit. So there we go, we have 1 degree. And with the slightest move, I have 0 degrees. And we have 1 degree. Slightest movement, we have 0 degrees. So our camber is roughly where I want it. Now that we have our camber down, we can start measuring our toe. Usually we'd start with caster, camber, and then end with our toe. So now that our camber is where we want it more or less, we are going to start aligning. And with that, you're going to need aluminum rods. Aluminum, because aluminum doesn't bend. You can get like steel rods, but steel rods will bend. You'll put them on the jack stands, or you'll pull on them a little bit and they'll bend, and your alignment is not going to be very accurate. With aluminum, aluminum is stiffer, so it doesn't move as easy. So when you tie your strings, I'll show you what I mean. When you tie your strings to the rods, they're not gonna move. First, you set up your bars, front and back. The way that mine are set up, I drew these lines, and then with the grinder, I just made grooves so the string sits in it. And then that way, everything is matched up. You start by sending your bars to the center of the car, as center as possible. I set this line, and again, I cut some grooves in it just so I don't lose the center mark if this Sharpie ever fades. And I try to center it as much as possible to the center of the car. It's not 100% perfect, and it's not always going to be. Same thing with the back. There's our line, and more or less centered with the center of the car. Next thing we'll do is set our string, and I'll show you guys how I set my string. Basically, when you set your string, you have to make sure the string runs right in the center, or as close to the center of the hubs as possible, front and rear. The reason I made 2 marks here is so I know where to set my jack stand. All right, so now that we have our string set up, basically what I do is, like I said, I measured these lines and then I did those grooves. That's where I run my string, and on both sides I measured. So this is an 8-foot rod, and I measured the center 4 foot, and then I measured from the outside in. I think I did 1 foot and then out 2 inches, and then the same thing over there, the same thing on the rear. Basically, I try to tie my rod to the jack stand so it doesn't move, and then I go on the outside line just so I can get on the outside of the both wheels. Once you have that done, you run it all around the car. You can use 2 separate strings. I just use 1 because I don't want to open up another string, not gonna lie. I bought 2 strings, but I just don't want to open up. You do want the string a little somewhat tight so it's not moving on you while you're aligning. Next step to do would be to align the actual square. We squared out the jack stands. Now that those are squared out, we have to square it to the car, because the car could be over this way a little bit or this way a little bit inside our actual square. The way we do that is we grab a ruler, preferably with millimeters, so that you can be really accurate. And what we are going to do is try to find a place that you can measure from. I'm going to be using the center hub. The video said to try to use the center hub to measure as well, and try to keep your ruler level. So then when you look straight above, you can see we got roughly 180 millimeters, I think it'd be. We go to the other side, get our same spot. Obviously we see 12. We do need to move the rod over that way. That's basically how we square all the alignment to the car. Once we have everything square, we can start aligning. Now it gets really tricky. Setting up the square is what's really tedious, and the part that's always the hardest. Like, it's always gonna be hard because you gotta measure your front and your back. When you move your back, it moves your front. When you move your front, it moves your back. It takes a while to set this up, and like I said, you're not gonna get it perfect the first time. And so obviously my rear is going to sit in a little bit deeper. Your front and your rears have to match on measurements to the string. So I'm gonna go through really quick and square the alignment to the car, and so we can start aligning, and I'll show you guys more or less how I'm gonna do this. All right, so now we got our string squared to the car, and what we're gonna start doing is we're gonna grab a ruler. You put it on against the rim and you measure out to the line, and like I said, you use the millimeters because it's more precise. If your gap is smaller here than it is from here, you have toe in. If your gap is smaller here than from here, you have toe out. Basically what we're gonna go to do, we're gonna walk around the car and we're going to check them all. At this point we can do 1 wheel per wheel, so we can start here finish this completely, then go to the other side, start it, finish it, start it, finish it, start it, finish it. Doesn't really matter anymore, because now we're focusing on the actual alignment of the car. With the string being squared with the car, this is basically that perfect straight line, and what we're doing now is aligning the tires to the perfectly straight line that we have put up. I'm gonna get started on this. I'll pick up with you guys once I get this done. All right, so it's getting dark, but I just got done. Like, this is actually pretty good. Check this out. So when you're done, what you should be having is an equal measurement all around. So right there we have roughly 57, and right here as well, roughly 57. And on the other side, it would have to be the same exact 57 and 57. And back here, I forgot how much we had. 96, 96. And the other side we should have 96 as well. And there we go. So that means that our car should be aligned. The only thing that we can go do now to test it is to go drive it. Let me just take this whole thing down and we will go test drive it. I forgot to mention that before we started, we straightened out the steering wheel to make sure that the wheels are driving straight forward. But yeah, I think you guys could have figured that out. Let's go drive the car. I'm kind of excited. I've never done this before. This is my first time aligning a car. This is like the first time I did this on camera. First time. So I tested the setup before to see if everything marked out, but I never aligned. Like, I actually never adjusted the car. So I'm actually really excited to see how this is gonna work out. All right, so I don't know how well you guys can see, but the car drives perfectly straight. I swear right now, I can just, it throws off, the bumps throw off the car quite a bit, but I can set the wheel straight, let it go, and I definitely just go in a straight line. Like, this is actually, I'm actually really like hyped on this. Honestly, can't believe how well that worked out. I can drive the car now. Like, the only thing I need next is a clutch, but the car's aligned. It drives straight. That's crazy. I'm so fucking hyped. I hate how this car doesn't have interior lights. But I just got back home. Car drives fine. It drives actually really good. The one thing that it does need is a clutch. But I think I found a clutch that I can get. It's not that pricey and it should be a good clutch. So I think I'm gonna be picking up a clutch soon. I'm gonna look into it tonight, and yeah, we might be getting a clutch on this car a lot sooner than what I thought. I'm actually really happy with how the car is turning out. It's definitely not moving as quick as I thought it would be, but it definitely is making progress. Slowly but steadily, we are making progress on this car. I need tires for the rear at least, because the rear tires are going out pretty badly. So that's another thing that I need for the car. But other than the clutch, I can drive the car more often. But yeah, that's the alignment. Like I said, I didn't get too much into detail. I just kind of went over the basics of how to do it. There's a lot more to it. Honestly, I would recommend definitely going through the course. If you want to just throw in and try the alignment, I would go ahead and just kind of follow what I did. But like I said, if you're installing parts, if you're doing aftermarket control arms and then trying to do an alignment, it's a lot more that you got to do than what I just did. I put together the car completely, was ready for alignment. If you really do want to do an alignment and get it right, I would definitely recommend going through the course, because there's so much in there. There's a lot of actually really useful information. I learned a lot in that course, and not just like alignment wise, like suspension wise as well. That's where I'm getting the video, guys. Thank you for making it to the end. If you guys like the video, go down and hit that like button. If you guys have any questions, anything to say, go down in the comment section. I'm always active in the comment section. Hit that subscribe button. We got quite a bit of stuff going on for this car. Like I said, clutch might be coming soon, so hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one.